All right, settle in, children. Chapter 1. It's fun to play at the YMCA. Every Sunday, like religion, me and Gepe would cram a gym bag full of cheap workout gear and snake over to the Y to fool away the minutes performing all kinds of acts, both speakable and We'd commence on the court, locking horns in a battle of one-on-one or horse, or, if there were enough unaged cuerpos about, we'd scrounge together a pickup game and run up and down the boards until our legs were mush. Next, we'd pump the weights, benching the bar and then some, or curling our biceps with hefty 5s and 10s. After which, we'd knock out a set of crunches, then hike up our shirts and show off our tiny 2-packs. Later, we'd get undressed and sink into our swimsuits, then doggy paddle our way around the pool or dive the boards on the deep end, putting the lifeguards on high alert with our bombastic cannonballs and our lead-like buoyancy. And once our skins were thoroughly soaked, we'd jump in the hot tub in heat, hoping against all hope that a couple of bikini-clad chicas would wade in with us and after some highbrow conversation, coax us into a foursome in the bushes out back. Though most of the time we'd wind up sitting shitta with a hairy old hombre who had nothing better to do than complain about the weather, or worse, some girthy, middle-aged mujer who, when she sat down, would raise the water up over the lip and flood the surrounding tile. Ooh. Any unreal luck we had with the ladies occurred in the fitness center, where there were always plenty of hot young hermosuras working up a sweat on the treadmills and the ellipticals, wearing little more than sports bras and yoga pants, their earbuds oblivicizing them to the two horny high schoolers gawking at their gnarly nalgas and bouncing breasts. And whenever a pair of these sexy señoritas were in close proximity, me and Gepe would pounce on adjacent machines and pretend like we were two happy-go-lucky couples out for a mid-morning burn. Normally, I'd imagine the four of us winding down a woodland road on our way back to our secluded cabin where we'd indulge in some witty banter over a French toasted brunch. Then, like magic, Gepe and his novia would disappear, giving me and mine just the opening we needed to amble out to our private pier and make wild, passionate love, while the cicadas stridulated and the birds sang out around us. As for Gepe, he went straight to the sex. De veras, he even forewent the fantasizing, preferring instead to express his deepest desires aloud, often in graphic detail, but fortunately also in Espanol, so neither she nor the surrounding boyillos would know what the hell was what. So racy. There was one muchacha in particular he liked to harass, an ample shorty with a worldly air. She would come in clad in short shorts and a tank top, and after some pretzel-like stretching in the corner, climb on to one of the stationary bikes for some extensive spinning, at which point my amigo would coitus interruptus himself from whomever his tongue was currently tasting and join her on the next bike over for a journey along an imaginary trail. He'd begin by whispering suggestive somethings around her ear, and after it was perked, make a more figurative move into some delightful foreplay. Either a lengthy description of his lips strewing kisses all over her Serena Williams-like physique, or a recipe and rundown of the food he was eating off of her and from where. And once they were both completely sodden in sweat, he would break out the pornographic and assail her with all kinds of filth. Mind you, this Betty was no dope. Whatever obstacles the Spanish might have brought for her, she knew a come on to all fours when she heard it. And yet, surprisingly, she played along, even daring him to up his game with an occasional flash of her corrected teeth or a sarcastic huff in his direction whenever he began to exhaust, thus breathing new life into his failing legs and his furtive speech. And when they'd finally traversed her intended distance, She'd wipe whatever was wet with an issued towel and then drop it upon his lap, repeating the punchline to the old joke about the behaviorist after sex. It was good for you. Was it good for me? Before strutting off to the showers, leaving Gepe literally spent. Ooh, very, very interesting. After observing several of these trips down Enema Lane, I finally asked him why he didn't just pop the question already. For as far as I could tell, the feelings were flowing both ways. At any rate, she hadn't carved out a pound of his flesh yet, so why not cast the first stone? But Gepe, as usual, had his own crooked bent. She's merely flirting with me, amigo, placing my cock, as it were, upon the roast. It is one of woman's many insufferables. You seem to be suffering it just fine. What can I say? I am a man. It is our duty, for the sake of civilization, to endure the whim that is woman. But what if you're wrong? What if she isn't just flirting? Then by ceasing to act hastily, I will evade ruining what we already have. For one date with her, and I would expose my illiteracy in the art of love. No, sadly, and as much as I would have it otherwise, I yet lack the wherewithal to satisfy even her least desires. Just do what you've been saying you'll do. That ought to please her. No, amigo, that is nothing but wordplay. You know as well as I that in the real world, a man must explore a woman's cabeza before he goes digging around inside her caboose. Alas, we are doomed to repeat this game of cat and mouse until I have grown the proper whiskers. And repeat it they did for weeks, until one day another wire stuck his bulbous nose into where it didn't belong. The cockblocker in question was an older Varone, 50s maybe, with a hostile hair lip and a scalp so smooth you could bowl with it. But he was also strong, enough that when he pressed his stubby fingers into Gepe's neck, I, too, felt the squeeze. "Chaoses," he shouted as he not so kindly removed my amigo from his wheel. "Crees que puedes haberle así celerte con la tuya." After that, his Spanish flew so fast that I couldn't keep up, and he might have done worse than words if I hadn't been so worried that I forgot to walk, while the belt below me continued to whirl. The next thing I knew, I was on the ground and aching from everywhere except my eyes. My fall had sprung Gepe from his assailant's grip, and soon after, he was at my side, telling me that it was time to get up. Whew. Intense. Remarkable. Fascinating.